it puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the swamp again. Welcome to the swamp. The swamp is an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And reporting to you live, this is Agent Dara.
And Agent Emily.
And if you didn't get the reference, or if you don't know how to read, this week we'll be talking about Silence of the Lambs. I always think about how we do a bad intro, right? Like, I'll do like a bad impression or something, and I'm like, ha ha ha, if you didn't get that, here's the name of the movie.
That's so bad.
But we title every episode the name of the movie, so if they click on it, they know what they're watching.
Yeah,
like,
I would hope.
I had never thought that one through before. It was real bad. I was like, well, if they fucking clicked on the episode, they know what movie we're talking about.
I would like to think that our bad intros are a little endearing.
We're working on it. I'd like to say I'm working on it, but we, like, powwow 3 minutes before. I'm like, what the fuck do we say?
Quick brainstorm.
This is my desperate attempt to be funny. But anyways, I would say that that's the most iconic quote from this movie. It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
You think so?
I would argue that that's the most memorable line from Silence of the Lambs. What do you think?
Well, obviously there's the one about his liver and, like, a nice Chianti. But the one that sticks out to me is, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
I'd fuck me. Oh my god, that scene's iconic.
It was one of those scenes, because I had never seen this movie before, really. I'd seen, like, some of it, nothing, like, fully through.
Well, like cultural references that you just kind of have to get.
But my roommates are big fans of it, and they were talking about how funny that scene was for, like, that reason and that dialogue and everything and his little dance or whatever. But I just found it so distressing.
Are you kidding? Every time I put on lip gloss, I say, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. See, every time I'm doing my makeup, I just ask myself, like, would I fuck myself? If the answer is no, there's not enough shit on my face.
But I mean, it's like, the way that it's interspliced with this poor girl he's holding hostage, like, screaming and crying and, like, having this poor attempt at, like, capturing his dog is, like, oh my god, it made my skin crawl.
And he's like, gotta do drag.
Let me put on my skin suit really quick.
So, Silence of the Lambs, 1991. What a fucking iconic movie. So, we're doing all of your requested movies listener requested movies this month. And a couple of people wanted us to do this. Even one person who I remember their Instagram, like, name is Clarice Starling Stan.
Love that.
So, I really, like...
We had to do it for them.
The energy... Right, the energy was just here, and so we're doing Silence of the Lambs.
A great way to end the month.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, this is definitely of the most iconic movies, or at least, like, you know, renowned as being, like, top
for sure.
cinema.
I'd say this is probably...
that we've done.
This is probably one of the most film sort of movies that we've done so far.
I'm fucking pumped, though. I am obsessed with this movie. So you said that you hadn't really seen it a ton before, just, like, bits and pieces, whereas I think I watch this movie at least once a year. If, you know, more than once, if it's, you know, on my radar. Yeah. I think this movie is so good. I often think if somebody were to ask me, like, maybe not my favorite movies, but what I think are the, like, objectively best films, like, made of all time, this would come at least in the top 5 to 10 that I would, you know, brainstorm. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, pretty crazy thing about this movie is that, well, not crazy, but I found it interesting that it won the Big Five. So that's at the Oscars when you win Best Picture, Best Actor, Actress, Directing, and Screenwriting.
Jeez. That happens,
if you
like,
sweep those...
not often at all.
It has happened 3 times in the history of
What
ever.
other movies?
This is one of them. So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, swept the Big Five, and it happened some
way back
time with, like, 1936 or something like that.
With a movie that we wouldn't know.
So, yeah. Only 3 times ever has those, like, all 5 categories been totally swept by a single movie, and this was one of them. And I totally see that. I just think it's, like, brilliant, genius filmmaking. Totally iconic, especially for, like, the horror genre, which doesn't often get recognized by the Academy or by a lot of, like, I know a lot of people are often, like, turned off by horror or, like, thriller or psychological thriller as a genre. So I think it's crazy the amount of, like, cultural relevance that this movie has, considering how gruesome and disturbing and upsetting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I watched this movie through like Sling or something like that, which was they did it through like AMC, or whatever. So I caught like the really censored version, which I was pretty upset about. Honestly, it was pretty beat, and I had ads. It was so beat.
See, I just paid $3 to rent it because I don't fuck with that shit.
Well, that's the other thing is, like, I went to, like, go and rent it because I had looked up, like, the runtime, and it was, like, 2 hours and 18 minutes, and you can't find the 2 hour and 18 minute version anywhere. It's always, like, an hour 48. So somewhere they've cut it, like, the full-length version is out there floating around, but they've cut out, like, a full half hour of it. I want to see the director's cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that when I was renting it on Amazon, but that's crazy. Yeah. But so y'all wanted to hear us talk about Silence of the Lambs, so here we are. First impressions, Emily, what did you think?
I enjoyed it.
Or like quasi first impressions.
It was super good. It didn't hit me like I feel like it hits most people, you know, like I knew it was a good movie and I got a good movie. It's what I expected, but I didn't so much, like, fall in love with it and have that, like, God, this is an amazing movie, like, I feel like a lot of people have. Like, it was good, it was solid, I know it's obviously gotten critical acclaim for a good reason, but it didn't, like, I don't know, it didn't, like, I suppose it didn't wow me, and I guess that's just because, like, I've seen and heard enough about it outside of it, so, like, I knew all the big scares and all the big twists that were coming and stuff like that, unfortunately. And that's the thing social media will do at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all the iconic references you've kind of are already keyed into just like as a member of society.
But I did enjoy it.
I totally am a stan through and through. I love this movie. Yeah, for sure. I think it's one of the best films like ever created. I think it's totally exemplary as far as like terrific writing, terrific casting, acting, directing. I think this movie can almost do no wrong. And it was definitely part of my like middle school, like late elementary through early high school. So like mainly in middle school, I definitely went through this kick where I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be the kind of person who likes movies, I have to see all of the important ones, right? So I would like on illegally pirate from like 123movies.com or whatever.
Classic.
Like I was like, okay, like Donnie Darko, I need to see that one. Like, you know, just like Google like what are the movies.
Oh, you just watched that for Jake Gyllenhaal.
Don't call me out. But basically, I would like go on like, you know, Reddit forums and be like, you know, if I'm gonna be a quote unquote film person, like what do I have to watch? And you know, like indie films, like stuff like that. So I definitely remember dedicating a lot of my time to watching the supposed like standard great film. So I think the first time I watched this, I was probably in middle school, like on my iPod Touch or some shit like that. And like for real, this movie low-key made me want to be an FBI agent. That first scene where she's running through the woods doing that ropes course, I was like, bro, if that's all that FBI training school is like doing, like climbing up rope ladders and running through the woods in a crew neck, kind of hot. I think I could pull it off.
They made me run the mile in high school. I can do that easy.
Yeah, right? Also, I just remember the TV show Breaking Bad for a while had me roped into wanting to be a DEA agent.
Oh!
Yeah, disgusting, right? Like, I look back and I'm like, why the fuck did I ever want to participate in law enforcement? Like, so gross. I really should have been aspiring to be more the meth cook and less of the meth cook buster. But I just remember for a long time, I'm like, the coolest job ever would be to, like, be a DEA agent and to, like, bust heroin rings and, like, go undercover. And, like, it's hilarious to me that I ever thought that was, like, really up through when I was a freshman in high school. I, like, aspired to be a DEA agent. And then I was like, oh, you have to run 10 miles to like get into FBI school. Like, that's not happening for me. I don't play recreational sports. Like, that's just not happening for me.
Absolutely not.
But this movie, Clarice Starling, for real, ignited the FBI fire in me. I was like, I'm gonna be a badass female agent like Clarice Starling. She's such an epic character to me. I think she's one of the most brilliantly written and acted like heroine characters.
For sure. See, I think if I had watched this when I was like 8th grade or freshman in high school, I just would have had like my gay awakening way sooner.
Jodie Foster's so hot.
I can't say enough about her. An absolute icon. Of course, like, you've probably seen that iconic interview with her where they're
like,
are you thinking about boys?
What boys are? I love that. Yeah, she was like a child actor. She fully started acting in commercials and stuff when she was like 2 years old. Like, she was a Hollywood baby for sure. And she was, totally in stuff super young. I remember Taxi Driver. She was very young when she was in Taxi Driver, which was sort of her big break. And I know she even had an Oscar before this for Best Actress. So, like, people consider this to be like her big breakout role, but she had already won a Best
Was Taxi Driver one of those ones that you had watched in your sort of wake of trying to watch all the classics?
Nah, I definitely steered clear of the dad movies,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen Taxi Driver. It just doesn't appeal to my senses, but I probably should watch it.
I do remember being in, like, whenever we went to Cooperstown, remember watching The Godfather for the first time with you and your family.
Really? Did we watch The Godfather? Oh yeah,
we watched The Godfather.
I don't remember that even a little bit. I mostly remember forcing you to watch School of Rock with me, like 6 times in a row.
I need to revisit that, because I remember not being wowed by it then, but I feel like I've had a severe change of heart.
Yeah, I just remember we watched Shrek a couple of times, and then also School of Rock a couple of times. I love that movie. I'm totally campaigning for us to do a Jack Black month. I think he is amazing. I would die for Jack Black. I think he is a Hollywood elite. If you guys out there, if you guys agree that we should do a Jack Black month with me, slide into our DMs and pitch your favorite Jack Black films for real. I'm obsessed with him. I saw Tenacious D in concert once, and it was fucking epic. He sweat through his shirt like 9 times and would just change it on stage. He had a pile of t-shirts ready to go because he was just so
I would
sweaty.
hope that he threw all those sweaty t-shirts out to the audience.
Oh my god, if I caught a sweaty Jack Black t-shirt, I'd be wearing it right now.
It's like a most prized possession. Like, you put it up in glass and frame it on your wall.
But, Silence of the Lambs. Back to our...
Should we give a quick recap?
Yeah, it's honestly, so much shit happens in this movie, and even if you have a vague understanding of what happens, you, like, really don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like a plot within a plot, a whole thing.
I trust you...
I don't know if you want to kick it off.
I trust you to take the reins because I am new to this, but...
Yeah. So just like a quick plot summary. If you've never seen Silence of the Lambs, totally go watch it. Like, I don't know if it's free available currently on any streaming platforms, but I know it's rotated in the past through like Netflix and stuff. So if it pops up, if it ever comes across your radar as being free, totally watch it. I think it is really one of the best films of all time, especially if you kind of have that like 90s film nostalgia. I think really the 90s were the best decade for film. So if you have any of that, totally go watch Silence of the Lambs. But if you're just gonna listen to the rest of this episode, I guess you can listen to my shitty recap. But so Jodie Foster plays Clarice Starling, who's an FBI agent. She's still in training, she's still in school, but she's kind of the top of her class. She's really bright. And so her teacher, what's his name?
Fuck if I know.
I don't know his name, but he's like, hey, you seem pretty good and you're really into psychology. There's this, murder case situation happening right now with Buffalo Bill. He doesn't tell her this, but he's like, we want you to go get intel from Hannibal Lecter, who's currently locked up in prison. He's a cannibal murderer man, but he is sometimes willing to work with law enforcement to kind of give insight to the mind of a killer. And so the subtext there is that there are all these murders going on by somebody named Buffalo Bill, and they kind of want to use this serial killer insight to try to catch Buffalo Bill. So Clarice goes and she meets Hannibal Lecter, and he's totally trying to like toy with her brain. He's trying to extract personal information from her to like kind of dig into her mind, because that's his whole thing. He used to be like a psychologist therapist guy, and he's really good at it, and he's trying to pick away at her, but she's essentially like, hey, I just need to like know these things about, like, let me ask you a couple questions. Will you be cooperative? And he's like, not really. I'm not really willing to be cooperative.
It's like, that's not really my thing.
But as she's walking away, the guy in the next cell jacks off onto her, and Hannibal is like, well, that was so rude. Let me give you a nugget of information because I feel so bad that you have jizz in your hair. So she walks back, and he like whispers a little thing to her, like a lead, essentially, about where to find the next clue. and it's in like a storage house, and she goes in, she finds a decapitated head. It basically unlocks this whole slew of information about this guy named Buffalo Bill. It's like a quote-unquote transvestite who wants to kill plus-sized women to skin them so he can have a suit made of women's skin so he can like live his truth as a woman. It's like kind of fucked up and not really presented in a great way. But they're going after this guy named Buffalo Bill, and Clarice is kind of using all this information to pick away at these women that they've found that have been murdered or gone missing and all this stuff. And the FBI is kind of going in one direction, but she kind of has the insight, so she kind of goes in her own direction, and they think they've got him, but they don't. And it turns out she's got him at his house, at his right location. So she finds him using her super feminist, awesome FBI brain. And she shows up to his house, and she's like, hey, I'm just, like, looking to use your phone. And he's like, oh, but also while all of this has happened, Buffalo Bill has kidnapped a senator's daughter. And she's in a pit in his basement. And she's kidnapped his dog. And she's like, I'm gonna fucking kill your dog unless you let me out. And he's like, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna spray you with water unless you lotion up your skin so I can skin you to make a suit out of your body. And so then Clarice is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And he's like, ah! And he runs into the basement. And then he puts on night goggles. And she's like, I don't know where anything is. And then she hears the little of his gun. And she's so fucking smart. So she boom, 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 boom. And she shoots him and she kills him. And then she saves the day. She graduates from FBI school at the fucking top of her class. And then Hannibal, I totally didn't even summarize the whole bit where Hannibal, like, breaks out of prison.
They can watch it.
Yeah, go watch the movie. Hannibal swindles his way into a deal where they, like, move him from prison to prison, and then he, like, uses a pen to kill a bunch of people. And then, honestly, people who have seen the movie are probably so fucking bored with me at this point. But honestly, Hannibal is in the Bahamas, and he's like, hey, Clarice, I'm having an old friend for dinner, which means he's going to start eating people again. Specifically, the psychologist who was, like, in charge of him at the last prison, who they're looking for him. So he's like, I'm going to fucking eat him. And that's the end of the movie. It's really good. I didn't even scratch the fucking surface. With that 20-minute recap I just forced y'all to listen to, I didn't even scratch the surface. So even, like, that was a spoiler full. And I promise you will still get a great viewing experience out of the movie if you watch it. Like, there's so much to be had there.
So you drove home the point that Clarice is a great agent. And she is. She is an outstanding agent. She hasn't even graduated yet, and she's busting cases like this. It's crazy. My one gripe with her was that when she was down in Buffalo Bill's basement, she was swinging around corners, letting out, like, tennis grunts. Like, you need to be... like, way to use the element of fucking surprise, because he knows exactly where you're at. You're whipping around the corners going, ah!
Also, she let him out of her sight for 0.2 seconds, and he was fucking gone. She had no fucking clue where he was.
An Olympic sprinter, I swear to God.
I'm going to say that's your one gripe with her, because my biggest gripe with her, essentially, is that they're like, hey, we need you to go talk to Hannibal Lecter, aka Hannibal the Cannibal. He is a psychological mastermind. He will manipulate you under no circumstances. Do not even give him a crumb of personal information about yourself, because he will use it against you to manipulate you. He's a master at this. Don't do it. Within 3 fucking seconds of meeting Hannibal, she's like, here's my birth certificate, here's my social security number, here's, like, a detailed list, here's my parents' information, like, here's it all, just do
Let me give you my big 3 for the zodiacs.
Yeah. She's like, I'm an Aries rising, Libra sun.
Virgo moon.
No, but, yeah. Honestly, that could be true for Clarice. I think we kind of just clocked her there. But, yeah, they're
honestly,
like, don't tell him a goddamn thing.
That should be our question for this month, is what is Clarice Starling's big 3?
Yeah, or even, what's Clarice's zodiac sign? If you want to DM us, we'll post it on our Instagram, but anywhere on our Twitter, on our website, on our Instagram, anywhere. What the fuck is Clarice's zodiac sign? Reasoning or not, we'll enter you in this month's giveaway. We give away tote bags, stickers, merch, all that good stuff. So, like, if you're like, Clarice is clearly a Sagittarius, and here's why. I don't think I agree with you there, but, like, please give me a sound argument. But yeah, she's like, I have daddy issues. She's like, I'm an orphan. Like, within seconds, this bitch, I mean, he's like, can I see your credentials? And she shows him, and he's like, closer, and she just fucking complies.
Right? Oh my god,
like, girl.
Like, one of their other things was like, they were like, do not get up against the glass. And when he calls her back, her nose is pretty much squished up against it. Come on.
So whack. In so many occasions, she like passes shit through that little door to him. And I'm like, they told you to not do that. But obviously, I think it's implied throughout the movie that her willingness to kind of surrender her boundaries to him and kind of be a little bit more vulnerable is why she's such a good agent and why she is able to yield the information that she does. Like, he doesn't usually get that close with people, and she's like, I know I'm like have the mental fortitude to put up with whatever shit he's gonna say to me, because he really tries to like pull some shit with her, and it honestly kind of works at some points, but her being like, I'm gonna tell you some shit about myself in order to gain the information I need, and I know I'm going to be able to deal with it, is the most impressive part about her as an agent to me, because like that she's going against the rules, which is pretty awesome.
Well, I mean, they're both like, I don't want to say great character, but very interesting characters in that way, because Hannibal can do the same thing. He reads her to filth, dude. Like, it's nothing. And I don't want to say that, like, obviously he's a great psychiatrist. Like, if my psychiatrist was that good.
Yeah, right? Within one look of me clocking my entire existence, I'd be like, you've got my paycheck.
Right?
Like, tell me what to do next. You can murder me. Like, go for it. Put my head in a jar.
Expert, dude. Expert.
But yeah, he sort of, like, says that she has to, he says, like, was it quid pro quo? You gotta tell me stuff about your life and your childhood, and I'll give you little bits and pieces about this case that we're doing, which is a pretty interesting dynamic that they then develop, because he's like, you know, I'm gonna chip away at your psyche, but I will give you the things you want, which is a pretty cool dynamic that they have. It's actually, so this is based off of a book. And the author of the book didn't actually even want anything to do with the movie. He was like a pretty shy, reserved guy. And they're like, hey, like, can we buy the rights to this? And he's like, sure. And they're like, would you like to be a part of, like, you know, the production team, the creative team? And he was like, nope, not really. Like, excited to see how it turns out. But I think one of his books in the past, like, Hannibal had been used as a character in a film in the past, which kind of flopped. And so they then had to, like, buy the rights from them as well. And he was just like, yeah, I don't really have any interest in, like, being part of the movie industry. I'm just a writer, but, like, do with it what you will. And this is actually the second book in the series. So it's called, like, the Hannibal series. And it's all these, like, crime thriller novels about, you know, Hannibal as, like, the main character. And so this is book 2. So this is based off of book 2, and a lot of like the TV show Hannibal with Mads Mikkelsen, I think it's based off of book 1. Maybe there are other like movies like Hannibal as a cultural character. They draw from those books obviously a lot because that's the source material. But so this is book 2, and I guess the first book is like super similar in the way that it's a FBI, like a male FBI agent going to Hannibal to try to get information to solve a case. So it's almost like what do you call those TV shows where every episode is the same, like a periodical or whatever?
I don't know.
You know, where like every episode kind of follows the same format. Like the format of book 1 is very similar to the format of book 2. Like it's an FBI agent going to Hannibal who's incarcerated and being like, hey, we need your big cannibal brain to help solve the case. But just, I don't know, I think that's kind of interesting that they chose book 2 to really go off of, as opposed to book 1 or like whatever they had done in the
I wonder, because I haven't read any of the books, of course, but I wonder how it worked out for the male protagonist in book 1, because let me tell you, all the men in this movie are so shit.
I will argue with you there. I think maybe when we get to I don't even know if it's necessarily in my realm of fuck, marry, kill, but I think that there are as many redeemable characters as there are shitty characters in this movie, because, like, you think about the guys who are garbage, right? But then you have to notice those gems, those nice little gems. The two bug guys, the two guys who are really into. They were so good. Do you remember that? Where Clarice goes, and they're like, Clarice, you're our fave. And they're like, let us tell you all this information about moths. Because
then they turn around and start hitting on her.
And they just love bugs. Well, she's hot.
That doesn't mean that anyone gets to hit on her without, like... That's like half of the movie. Like, they can shoot. Like, that's half of... Half
of the movie is people sexualizing Clarice. Yeah. I think that's just... ingrained in the script. I had it written down as bukake, but with cops, where in every Henry coined the term cop.
That was a good one.
He just gave me a stern look and pointed at me. That every scene where Clarice is like 5'1", 100 pounds, and she's surrounded by like 6 foot tall cops who are all, like, have their uniforms on and have their guns, and she's just, like, there in her peacoat. I'm like, are you all gonna start jacking off onto her? Are you kidding me?
There was that one scene where they were all in the morgue, like, about to inspect one of the first, like, one of Buffalo Bill's kills, and...
Oh, yeah, and she speaks up, and she's like, can y'all fucking leave? And they look at her, and they're like, oh, yeah, we want to fuck.
She said to them, she was like, go on, like, she said, go on now. And I was just rooting for her to be like, go on now, get! You know? Like, put them in their place, Clarice, come on. Like, they're so gross. But obviously she can't, because she's this one female in a room of, like, 20 plus men, cops, and all that shit, but...
No, it's totally, like, a really interesting dynamic, though, that they pose throughout the whole film, that it's, like... Every guy has an ulterior motive with her, like her boss, even Hannibal to a certain extent. Like, everybody is like viewing her as like, less than what she is, and she totally knows it. And the thing that I love about her, and that why I think she's such a cool character, is people will say some like manipulative shit or some gross shit or whatever to her, and she will just like keep her calm and stay kind of silent, or just say some sort of like agreeable remark, but she internalizes it and then she uses it to her advantage.
Dude, she's cool as a cucumber
to progress her own. Right? People are like saying some nasty fucking shit to her, and she just internalizes it, processes it, and then like uses it where it needs to be used. And I cannot believe that for a character, because I would lose my shit, and I think most people would lose their shit in times like that. And so it just shows, how composed she is. She's so good at her job. I would not want any other agent on my case if I were to be axe murdered.
Really? Get me Clarice
Starling.
Oh my goodness, yeah. She was outstanding. I did really fall in love with her character.
I was just saying, like, as far as Clarice being super cool, the American Film Institute ranked, when this movie came out, they ranked Clarice Starling as the greatest heroine in all of film history, and they have stood by that statement to this day. They have never found a better, like, the American Film Institute, to this day, holds Clarice Starling as being the #1 heroine in all of film history, which I think totally is cool and holds up. And just watching this movie... Every time she does anything, I'm like, #feminism. Clarice using a car jack to open a storage container door by her fucking self. That's a win for feminism on this day.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, as much as this movie, like, didn't wow me as much, I did really enjoy her character, and she was probably the star factor for me here.
So a crazy thing, though, is, like, do you not think that Jodie Foster was absolutely amazing and perfect and wonderful for this role?
No, I'd say, I think she was perfect for it, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so she won the Oscar for Best Lead Actress in a film for this. And so it's crazy. She was their 4th choice.
Who was ahead of her?
She had read the... Well, she read the books, right? And she had caught wind that they were going to make this into a film. So she approached them and she was like, hey, I think this is an opportunity of a lifetime. I would love to take on this character. It means a lot to me. Like, I think it would be just, like, totally amazing, please. And they were like, don't call us. We'll call you. Like, don't, Don't rely on it. We'll see. And so they then asked Michelle Pfeiffer, who said, too scary. Meg Ryan. No, Michelle Pfeiffer was literally like, I can't read the script. It's
Meg Ryan?
So
oh my god.
Ryan. They asked Meg Ryan, who is like, this would be detrimental to my career.
Yeah, do you know the kind of movies that Meg Ryan does? Like, Jesus Christ.
No, yeah, she was like, this is just too... She's like, I can't do this. And they then asked Laura Dern.
Laura could have done it.
And Laura Dern was... she was considering it, and then she kind of said no, and they were like, fine, I guess we'll settle for Jodie Foster, which is fucking crazy. Because she had won the 1989 Oscar for The Accused just like 2 years before this. So it's not like she didn't have any juice to squeeze. She fucking was squeezing her juice, and she was like, hey, I want this. And they were like, eh. And then they fucking let her do it, and she just squeezed more fucking juice.
Here's the thing, is her calling them... That was very Clarice Starling of her.
Exactly. And I think it was brilliant, and I don't know if anyone could have done it better. And I do think this is the performance of her lifetime, for sure.
I'd have to... I can't say I've seen too many Jodie Foster films. I've seen a handful, but, like, this is, of course, her top tier.
Oh, what, you haven't seen Contact? You didn't have to watch Contact in your 8th grade science class?
Oh, my God. Yes, I did. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I think so,
yeah. And she's in that giant fucking machine, and they send her out into space. Oh my god. That was wild. You're bringing up, like, this from the back of my subconscious. I really enjoyed that movie now that I think about it.
Yeah, right? I always feel like I hold in my heart a really, like, weird place for movies they made us watch in school, because, like, I enjoyed school and I enjoyed learning, but it always was a nice break when they're like, for the next 3 days, during these 20-minute periods we will be watching a film. You're like, Osmosis Jones? Hell fucking yeah. And that, like, gets stored into a very specific part of your brain that's, like, not learning, entertainment. You know, every movie I've ever had to watch in school, I store in that part of my brain where I'm like, this was special. This was given to me as a gift.
In that part of my brain, I have Schindler's List.
What class did you
No, it was like a religions
US2?
class. I took it senior year. But it was so bad. Like, I loved that class, but every day that week I walked in already so sad. It was like one of those classes too where you're like looking around trying to like not cry and like watching everyone try to not cry as well. Like, I've already cried enough in public school. I don't need to do it anymore. Osmosis Jones though was a banger.
We certainly, yeah, right. We certainly did not watch Silence of the Lambs in school. I feel like a criminology class at best, but it's actually pretty interesting though. A lot of this movie is based on things that happened in real life. So, like, both the author of the book and the people who made the movie have come forward kind of citing, like, true events that inspired the story for this movie. So, Buffalo Bill, the character, was kind of modeled after a real American murderer. His name was Gary Heidnik, and he kidnapped 6 women and kept them in a pit in his basement. And he was white, and all 6 women he kidnapped were African-American women, and he held them in a pit in his basement, and he did end up murdering 2 of them, and the other 4 got away because he got caught, and he did some seriously fucked up shit to their bodies. Like, if you just Google, like, you know, Buffalo Bill, real murder, basic, whatever, if you want to go check out what he did, it's so fucked up, like, even beyond what this movie... Like, this movie has him making a skin of women's bodies, and that's even... I mean, it's really fucked up what this guy did to these women, and it was obviously, like, racially motivated, and it was super disgusting. So they kind of, you know, modeled him after this guy. But even more interesting to me was the relationship between Clarice and Hannibal was kind of based off of this relationship between a University of Washington professor and Ted Bundy. So this guy at University of Washington was kind of on the case to try to solve the Green River serial killings. So it was just a serial killer on the east or on the West Coast who was, killing women rampantly. And so this guy went in and visited Ted Bundy like super regularly in his cell to kind of like gain insight. And they actually, I'm not gonna say they became friends, but they definitely became colleagues in the way that Ted Bundy wanted to help this guy, or at least, gave him enough information that they did end up solving the case. It was after Ted Bundy's death because he got executed, but the information that Ted Bundy gave this guy was crucial enough that they ended up solving the case. And so like that sort of like, that was one of the first times that people had relied on convicted criminals to like give insight on cases. And so they kind of took that relationship as inspiration for the whole like Hannibal, Clarice,
well, you can totally
whatever for the books. So there is a little bit of truth. It's kind of interesting.
But you can totally see like the inspiration too, like for like newer shows like Mindhunter. Have you seen Mindhunter? 100%.
Oh yeah.
Like in my head, like Mindhunter and this film like live on the same plane of existence. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, the impact of this film is definitely wide-reaching, and I mean, obviously, the inspiration for it as well has probably spanned across.
Yeah, and like the crime, like the crime horror genre. I think if you're a person at all who's interested in like true crime or like like murderers and serial killers and stuff, because this movie presents so many cool layers of like you've got the Hannibal situation and the Buffalo Bill situation and the FBI situation, and really with the layers it always keeps me entertained. Like this movie never loses my interest because
that was the craziest thing to me, is that like Hannibal isn't even your like main guy, you know what I mean? He's just a side villain.
Yeah, he's not even the worst guy in this movie. He ate people, and you're kind of like, thanks for being helpful.
Can we talk about, because I texted you this in the middle of the movie, how Hannibal's a little slutty. He's a bit of a whore.
Oh my god, Hannibal is a little slut. For sure. Like, I'm gonna say he, like, craves human touch, because he's like been in prison.
Well, he's also a cannibal.
Years. So that little finger, that like nice like finger stroke that you specifically mentioned, he hands her the file and he like gives her a little like strokey stroke on the finger.
Hey,
be
bestie.
Like, hey. And like definitely the way he talks to her is very sexualized. I think he does it on purpose to like bother her, because he knows like, oh, you're always sexualized by everyone, like let me do it a little bit too to like crack into your head. Even though like I don't believe that he actually wants to fuck her. I believe that he's just like,
he's just
being
dick.
manipulative. But for sure he's so slutty.
Like if the I get why people watch like the show Hannibal, because if it's just Mads Mikkelsen being slutty, like shit, should I watch it?
Well, yeah, so the agent from, so the first book is about, I think his name was Will Graham. He's the agent, and he's played by like this pretty hot guy in the show. So the show is kind of based off of the first the first book or whatever. So it's like Mads Mikkelsen and this hot FBI agent guy like kind of having a little relationship over common interests of murder, and maybe I should watch that. I know it was super big in the Tumblr craze back in the day with like the like super Hulock Tumblr days. Definitely had like Hannibal tacked onto the end there, so I probably should go back to my roots and
he's
watch
like
it.
Hannibal's a real diva in this too, because like that, what is it, when he's talking to the senator or whatever, and he's like, Senator, one more thing.
Oh my god, he's like, love your coat. Absolutely. He manages to squeeze in 2 insults about Clarice's shoes. On 2 separate occasions, he's like, those fucking ugly, dirt poor, nasty
you cheap
shoes
bitch.
He's always like her appearance, her lotion, her perfume. He's commenting on always. I'm like, you're kind of a fashion like
but
diva,
also,
aren't you?
Hold on. At
you know
the
your
end,
shit.
though, the outfit that he's disguised in is so really
amazing. Well, I love it because he doesn't look like himself. It's just like, he looks like Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, he looks like Jimmy Buffett.
What's the opposite of Hannibal Lecter? Yeah, what's the opposite of Hannibal? Well, Jimmy Buffett.
It is smart. It's a smart disguise. It's just so fucking ugly. Like, I hope he has on some Jimmy Choos or some shit like that. Something a little bit redeeming.
Oh, can I say, though, that I think that final line, I'm having an old friend for dinner, is fucking phenomenal. Crazy. Because that's the guy that you're kind of like, I know Hannibal sucks, but that
he
guy
was so bad
sucks.
at his job, dude.
Yeah, right. Not only was he bad at his job, he was like rude to Clarice. He was just like unprofessional and a piece of shit. And I was like making notes for fuck, marry, kill, and I was like, kill that guy. But then I'm like, wait, Hannibal literally already does, so he gets his
out of the way
fucking
for me.
comeuppance. Like, I don't give a shit.
There was one thing that stood out to me in just details wise. There's like a couple of things like in Buffalo Bill's house that are like Nazi paraphernalia. Yeah, that
swastikas.
The one thing that stood out to me specifically, I was looking and I was like, does he have a swastika bedspread?
Yeah, so this is a little tidbit of information from I'm not gonna say from my personal life because that makes me sound fucked up, but when I, not that long ago, went to California to visit a good friend who lived there, I went to the Museum of Death, which was really cool, and it was this whole museum dedicated to like not only death and the process of dying, but also like serial killers and murderers and cool shit like that. Like I got to see dirt from O.J. Simpson's lawn. Like that was hella tight. And so the Manson murders, so like Charles Manson and that like weird, kind of cult following that he had, they had swastika quilts. Like these women that he kind of indoctrinated like into his life and into his like serial killery shit, they made these swastika quilts. So I think that in the movie was kind of like a nod. They were trying to pull together like an amalgamation of like American serial killers and murderers to create this
That's
Buffalo
super
Bill
interesting.
character.
One thing I did want to talk about, because I know you have strong feelings about child actors to adult actors and how they line up. I will say that the child they chose for young Clarice did not even come close to looking like Jodie Foster. It was so bad.
Garbage. She just had brown hair. And I wrote actually that I think that a Jodie Foster playing the mother or old-aged version of Kristen Stewart.
Here's the thing.
I think
my God.
would be really good.
That's okay. I love that because I literally have written in my notes is that some of Jodie's deliveries remind me so much of Kristen Stewart's. It's insane.
Yes. During this movie, I was like, I'm not saying that it's giving me Bella from Twilight energy, because that's a bit of a stretch, but I really do think that a Kristen Stewart to Jodie Foster aged or mother-daughter situation will be brilliant on film. I think they have really similar mannerisms.
They definitely have similar mannerisms. I don't know if they look enough alike, but
I think they could be like mother and daughter, though. Like, you could have enough of a separation. Just get some random white guy to be the dad, and it would be convincing.
That's fair.
You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. There were some times where I'm like, wow, this is giving me Kristen energy. Like it's way better, but there was just something about the delivery that I was like, Kristen, is that you?
I think it was because she was kind of nervous the whole time, and Kristen Stewart, especially in Twilight, kind of gives off a nervous energy. And I actually, in preparation for this, I watched the Graham Norton interview with Jodie Foster, obviously, because we stan Graham Norton in this house. And she was saying on Graham Norton that the entire duration of filming for this movie, her and Anthony Hopkins never spoke outside of filming, and that barely they spoke even during filming, because this movie uses a lot of like speaking straight to camera technique. So a lot of the times they were just like in the same room but just like delivering their lines like to camera or like slightly off camera or something. And she said she was fucking terrified of him. She was like, the like presence he had in that character and like being so grounded scared me so much that I was nervous to even like say hi to him passing backstage, you know? Like that he was just like so true to that character that she was like, he was fucking scary and I was terrified.
He ate this role, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah, he won the Oscar for it, and I would say as well, I know Sir Anthony Hopkins has done an insane amount of shit in his life, but I would argue for both of them that this is the role of their lifetime.
Yeah.
Him in this role is fucking crazy.
He's absolutely outstanding.
Even if you like read about the shit that he did, like the stuff he altered to the script and like the stuff he added to it, immense.
Well, wasn't that whole like iconic thing about like him frying up his liver or whatever? That was all improv from what I know.
Oh yeah, a ton of it was improv, especially when he's reading her to filth, when he's like, "You're nothing short of white trash." Like, a lot of that was stuff that he kind of added, and she, in real life, thought that he was, like, patronizing her and making fun of her, so she, like, was kind of taking it personally, and I guess much after the fact, he was like, "I was doing it to get a good, genuine reaction out of you," and she was like, "Thank you, because it worked." Like on film, I looked so upset because it was the truth.
You got us the Oscar, Anthony. Yeah, no, he was, of course I was taken back by Jodie's performance, but I was very much enthralled by his as well.
I always think about, so there's some term that I can't remember, but it's when you can see the whites either under or above someone's eyes. Mm-hmm. It's like this Japanese phrase that basically means 3 whites. So you can see everybody, typically, you can see the whites on the, the corners and the outsides of your eyes. But if you can see the whites under or above is much more rare, but mostly under, it, like, is said to convey significantly more intense emotion. So if you see somebody and you can kind of, like, you can see all around their pupil in one direction or the other. And it's this thing that I sort of look for all the time now in film. And it's like, you get it a little bit in, like, Robert Pattinson in The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
And characters who are having these insanely intense emotional moments. A lot like, and you get sort of...
That's a lot like the Kubrick stare, too.
Yeah, right, but they're, like, angling their head downwards with their eyes facing upwards, and it's this 3, and I notice so much in this movie that Hannibal has the 3 whites, as well as he does not fucking blink.
Yeah.
I tried to do... So do you ever, like, hold your breath in a movie when a character goes underwater, right? So you're like,
I feel like we've done this, like, while we record or while we watch something for this before.
Yeah, right. You're like, okay, they're about to go underwater. Like, let me see if I can do it too, to see if it's realistic. And it obviously never is. I tried to stare while he was staring, and I even let myself blink when the camera, like, panned to someone else. And there are full, like, monologuing shots of his face where he does not blink for, like, a full, like, my eyes were burning. Yep. He is putting in the most there, and I'm like, I cannot believe that he could deliver those lines with such conviction without blinking even a little, like, just deadpan staring. It was crazy to me. I thought that shit was the most impressive.
I watched this with my roommate Matt, and he pointed that out to me, and immediately my head went to was a movie that we had already done. Probably one of the first ones that we had done was The Phantom Menace in Star Wars, and the villain in that, Darth Maul, he doesn't blink the entire time. And I was like, I wonder if that was ripped specifically from this, because it is unnerving.
I think it's kind of just known within human psychology that if you, I know the whites above your eyes, if you can see somebody's eyes and, like, they look so wide that you can see the whites above, they're supposed to be mentally unstable. But also people who don't blink, I think, are just relatively, like, categorized as being, like quote-unquote crazy or, like, unhinged type, because you think, like, they are so intense in their emotions in the moment that they can't even be bothered with bodily functions. So I would say a lot of times, probably, if you observe, like, the unhinged villain or, like, the crazed villain probably doesn't blink as a part of their, bit that they do.
Yeah. Now I wish that I did that, though, was trying not to blink, because one of my favorite things as a kid was, like, if we're like, games we play, like, with, like, your parents or whatever, is me and my mom would have staring contests, and I would say I got pretty decent at not blinking for a really long time, but now I wear contacts, and if I don't blink, those shits get, like, stuck to my eyeballs.
I was just gonna say, I am horrible about it. I can't even touch my own eye to put in contacts. Like, when I try to put contacts in my eyes, I, like, freak the fuck out because I hate the feeling of, like, my finger on my eyeball. So, like, even when I don't blink for more than a second, as soon as my eye starts to feel a little bit dry, I'm like, no, I don't like it.
That is one of my greatest skills, is that I've gotten really good at putting my contacts in. Like, all my friends that don't wear contacts, they're like, what the fuck? That's so foul.
No, you're wild. No mirror, nothing. You just raw dog your contacts. You just pop them in your eyes. It is fully impressive to me.
It's my lamest party trick, but I would call it my party trick.
It impresses me.
Fair enough. Oh, the one thing that I honestly found that I hated a lot from this movie was just the moths. I hate moths, dude. I hate moths so much.
You just, like, hated their entire presence within the film? Or, like, you didn't like that they were being shown? Or
I have a general issue with moths. I hate people are scared of spiders and stuff like that, or, like, different sort of insects. Moths are that for me. I hate moths. They're fucking like, maybe it's just because I lived in the woods, and I would always get moths in my room, but they are the bane of my existence. I think the world would be a better place without moths. I don't know what purpose they serve. Yes, there are some of them that are pretty, but most of them I think are a nuisance. And so just seeing them, like, in this was, like, yes, seeing people skinned alive was not great. Didn't love that. Not my cup of tea. But I really hated the moth.
Okay, so you were clearly very triggered when I said that I really liked the bug guys, because I think the inclusion of bugs in this movie is really cool. So comment fucking below if you're part of #MothGang. I think bugs are cool. I want to wear them on my jewelry. I want to wear them on
You've
my
got
clothes.
bugs on your shirt right now. What is that, a moth on your shirt?
These are cicadas. I think bugs are cool. I don't want to, like, touch them or kill them or, like, deal with them in any sort of indoor context, but I think bugs are cool, and I think the inclusion of them in the story it's the fucking movie poster, Emily. Like, how can you be mad at it? It's iconic.
It's not the movie. It's just it's moths in general. I don't love
when they pull the, like, cocoon out of her.
Yep. Nope. Did not like
throat.
that.
Oh, it's like a pimple popping video to me. It's just nice.
That's even worse.
We should do a Bug's Life on this podcast.
Honestly, I'm not sure that I'm ready for that.
That movie has a lot to say about class structures. I gotta say, though, kind of off comment point, but I was fucking losing my mind. So I don't know if you've ever watched Grey's Anatomy. You don't strike me as someone who ever has.
I have watched, like, a good fair handful of the first seasons.
Okay, so I don't know if this is gonna knock your socks off or anything, but so in the scenes with the girl, the daughter of the senator who gets kidnapped, right? Mm-hmm. The main girl who's essentially in his house, in the pit.
Yeah.
It gets the hose again, all of that jazz. When she was on screen, I was like, why do I know her? And I was like, I gotta take to IMDb, I gotta take to Google. She is Erica Hahn from Dr. Erica Hahn from Grey's Anatomy. She's like the rival, like, brain surgeon or whatever.
Wait, let me Google her
heart
now.
surgeon. She's like the rival heart surgeon in Grey's Anatomy. No. It was crazy. So this is her in the early 90s, far before Grey's Anatomy. But it really, right? It was crazy. This knocked my socks off because I was like, why does she have such that familiar face? And it's because she was in Grey's Anatomy. So I looked it up, and it really tickled me.
You didn't strike me as the Grey's Anatomy type either.
So here's the thing, is that my really good friend Rachel and I made a deal one summer. And the deal was that we got to swap shows. So I had to watch whatever show she told me, but she had to watch whatever show I told her. And so she made me watch Grey's Anatomy, and I made her watch Lost.
How much Grey's Anatomy?
I think I watched, how many seasons are there? 14? I think I maybe watched up to 7 or 8.
That's a good spot to stop.
A good ways through. Yeah, until it started getting bad where she was like, I understand if you want to stop. She also didn't watch all of Lost. She watched like the first, 3 or 4 of Lost until it got bad, and I told her that she could stop. But yeah, that like blew my mind. Erica Hahn from Grey's Anatomy. I was like, I know that face. Like, I know her from somewhere. So she's the girl in the pit with the dog.
Do you think she keeps the dog?
I wanted to say that I think so. When like people like both survive a plane crash or like both survive something traumatic, and they fall in love because their brain like falsely connects the endorphins in their brain to surviving trauma to like love. Like, that's a thing that happens. And so I feel like her and this dog are in it for life. Rather than being a reminder of her trauma, I want her and this dog to be like, we survived this together. And I want her to have this dog for fucking life.
The way she was, like, coming out of the house, clutching the dog, mind you, I'm sure her brain was off and it was all just trauma, like, from there and adrenaline and all that shit. But I was sitting there, I was like, I wonder.
But also, like, the fact that she had that dog in her clutches and she was screaming, like, I'll fucking kill your dog! And, like, she was, like, ready to fucking snap its neck. I don't know if I could have that pet. Like, part of me is, like, I would need to nurture it and care for it because I know that shit I put it through. But also part of me is, like, bro, I was literally about to break your leg to save my own life, so I can't have you around.
I don't know.
Constant reminder.
That's true. I feel like it could go either way. Like, it could be your penance, you know what I mean? To, like, be like, okay, I'll give you a good, loving home, not in a hole in a basement.
Yeah, I hope her and that dog, like, stuck it out together.
Yeah, I hope she learned
that dog is the star. That dog is the star of this movie.
Dude, that dog went to, like, a professional groomer.
And acting school to behave really well.
That dog has better hair than I do.
Alright, so to take a little bit of a break from the discussion, we're gonna do a chocolate and vanilla with intern and my mother, Jen. She's honorary guest and intern of the show. She does so much research and work, and we do this little game where it's called chocolate or vanilla. She just poses two things to us, and we say which one we like better. I highly recommend play it at games, parties, car rides, any of that. It's a really great way to spark intimate discussion. I don't really know, but
intense discussion.
Yeah. So Jen, what's the theme this week?
Okay, the theme is things that are scary.
Things that are scary.
Yes.
Okay, so that really goes with this week's movie.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla. Chocolate.
Vanilla. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Pink eye or lice?
Like, which one would I rather have? Pink eye or lice?
Which one scares you more?
Lice scares me more, because pink eye, okay, here's the thing. You can compress your eyeball and you can get antibiotics, and pink eye fucking sucks, but you can get over it in like 2 weeks max. Lice, you have to shave your fucking head. That's terrifying.
Okay. You do not have to shave your head. There are other remedies. It is not the 1950s. Because I feel like there are definitely a lot of remedies for lice. I'm gonna go with pink eye because that shit is uncomfortable.
Pink eye scares you more? That's so fucked up. No, lice is way worse.
No, man.
As someone who's had both, lice is way worse.
Okay, to be fair, I haven't had lice, so...
Okay, clean scalp gang.
I don't know. This is a really tough one. Like, lice is really scary to me, but like, I feel like I'm beyond the period of my life where I could get either. But also, lice is one of those things. Like, it's always lurking. Like, if you work around kids, someone has lice.
Okay, but we just talked about how you, like, raw dog put your contacts in your eyeballs with zero prep.
That's true.
You don't think if a smidge of bacteria got in there, you could be fucked? You totally could.
Can I change my answer to lice? I'm gonna go with pink eye, because just things oozing out of your mucous membranes, not good. Right? Very scary. Mm-hmm. You could lose an eyeball. I don't know if that's true. All right, snakes or sharks?
Which is worse, or which one do I like better?
Which one scares you more?
So usually chocolate or vanilla, the format is the thing you like better. I will say, if you want to reformat it to what's scarier, though, what is it? Snakes or sharks? Well, okay, here's the thing. Sharks get a bad rap. People say sharks are scary because movies portray them to be scary. But you know how many people die a year of shark things? Not really that many. But snakes, I bet snakes kill way more people per year than sharks. So I'm going to go with snakes because they can just be slithering up any surface. Whereas sharks, if you just choose to not go in the ocean, you're probably okay.
Yeah, sharks really mind their business, but you can definitely accidentally get into snakes' business. Like, I was hiking this weekend and I came across a snake or two. Did not like that. I like snakes in a controlled environment, but if I'm stumbling across them and we're meeting for the first time, they don't know me, I don't know them, not a fan.
Okay, so then what's your beef with moths?
Moth? They've harassed me enough in my lifetime. I've been harassed by moths, dude.
They're really big, too.
Right?
Yeah, right? I will say snakes also. Clowns or ventriloquist dummies?
I think both are great.
Neither one is scary to you?
I love a ventriloquist moment. I love when people like have the skill to talk through a puppet without moving their mouth. It's a skill I wish I possessed, honestly. Like, I really commend that. And I think clowns also get a bad rep because of the media. Clowns probably are fine and cool. And they've unionized pretty recently, the clown unions. It's totally a thing. You gotta get representation for your work. Clowns showing up to birthday parties and making balloon animals and shit, they deserve fair pay, fair wages. So, clown unions, ventriloquists should also unionize. I think both are great, so I pick neither.
What if a ventriloquist dummy talked by itself?
Well, that doesn't exist, Jen. That's not real.
See, here's the thing about chocolate and vanilla is you have to pick one. That's the whole object of the game.
Okay.
So,
what's scarier to me? I guess ventriloquist dummies, because they can look kind of gaunt, like a Victorian child, in a way that unsettles me.
You like Timothy Chalamet enough that
But
have
you seen the ventriloquist dummy of Timothy Chalamet that they had on Jimmy Kimmel, though? That one was scary. I didn't like that one.
I'm also going to go with ventriloquist dummies. Clowns never really fazed me that much, and I agree with their ventriloquist dummies don't either, but I don't, they make me think of, the haunted dolls kind of thing. Like, a haunted ventriloquist dummy would be horrifying.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the dummies, too. Empty cave or haunted house?
Haunted house, because here's the thing about a cave. What's in there at worst? Some critters? What are they going to do to me? A haunted house, deliberately there are people in there out to get you. Have you ever heard of the haunted houses that you have to sign a waiver? You have to sign those waivers to get in that are like, people are allowed to touch you and fuck with your shit, and you just have to sign a waiver over to your life. I would never in a million years do that. Do you know, Jen, in your hometown of Abington, Massachusetts, there's like an intense haunted house that happens where people like do crazy shit? I don't know. I've seen memes about it. So, haunted houses are fucked. Don't fucking put yourself up for like whack shit unless you don't have to. Caves are fine. Caves are fine. Go hike in a cave. Go climb in a cave. It'll be a good experience. If you encounter some bugs or maybe some bats, who cares?
I can deal with the bat. If there's a moth in the cave, I will not be able to deal with it.
You would prefer, so chocolate or vanilla, moths versus bats. You would prefer a bat?
Yes.
Oh my god. Bat shit is lethal.
Okay.
It's gonna shit on your eye and give you pink eye, Emily. A bat is gonna deliberately shit in your eyeball.
See, it's one of those, it's in the way that, like, Batman had that experience with bats that, like, really fucked him up. I had that experience with moths. I can't do it. I'm just gonna keep talking about how much I hate moths this episode. But I will also agree with Dara on the haunted house. I am no fan of that. I can deal with a variety of critters. I can't deal with a haunted house.
Okay, yeah, same for me. No, haunted house is worse. Okay, a takeout container in the back of the fridge for an unknown length of time, or milk that you just drank with an expiration date that was more than 2 weeks old.
Okay. I just drank the milk, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing is I've already drank it. So it is what it is. Whereas that thing in the back, honestly, neither of these are too bad, because the thing in the back, I could put on a big glove and execute its existence.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you're like, oh, that thing back there, ooh, it's been there for a minute. You can take it out. But also, I'm not going to say that expiration dates are put there by the government to, like, scare you, but I think you can eat things past their expiration date to a certain degree and you will be fine. maybe not milk if it's chunky. Are you saying chunky milk versus smelly lo mein? Is that what you're telling me, Jen? Because in this case, I'm going to pick
moldy leftovers versus chunky milk.
Moldy leftovers.
Yeah, I'm also going to go moldy leftovers because chunky milk is pretty horrifying. I agree with you. Expiration dates are not always as scary as they're made out to be, but milk is one of those things you got to be real weary with.
It's just called yogurt. These days, they call it yogurt.
Oh yeah, me too on the leftovers. Falling in a dream or falling in real life?
Falling in real life. You can't get hurt in a dream. I fall in real life all the time, and I fuck my shit up. I'm clumsy as hell. Dreams, at least you just wake up and you go, oh, thank God that wasn't real. In real life, you wish you could wake up and say that wasn't real. So I'm going to say falling in real life fucking sucks.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with her on that one.
I'm going to go with falling in a dream because, like, it never stops, right?
That's true.
You don't just get woken up.
I don't know.
I jolt awake. It's always like right before you're about to fall asleep too, which is just like mildly inconvenient.
Yeah, exactly. All right, public speaking or being alone?
Public speaking. I hate public speaking. I will pick anything else over public speaking. Fuck that shit. I will be alone for 15 years by myself in solitude before I public speak. I hate that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I agree. It was like one of those things, like in college, they're always like, oh, you'll get like way better with presentations or whatever. Nope. I had my script and I practiced like 2 days in advance because I could not take it. I couldn't do it without like having my shit absolutely solid.
Explosive diarrhea before and after.
Like, I ran track in middle school, and like you get like that nervous pee before you run. I'd have that nervous pee before I had to public speak.
Yeah, nervous pee must be nice. I have nervous fucking diarrhea.
Oh my god.
Perfect. No. Okay, next one. What's scarier, vomit or diarrhea?
Oh my god. I think I would rather... Well, I was going to say vomit because it's like clean, one and done. It's over. Diarrhea, when you're like, when's this going to end? You know, when you're like, when will this ever end? But I will say overall, diarrhea is less offensive because everyone does it, whereas vomit usually is a situational thing. So I'm going to say that vomit is worse.
No, I'm going to say diarrhea is worse. Oh my god.
I think vomit is scarier. Dracula or Frankenstein?
I like them both. They're both just misunderstood. They're both cuties. I'm gonna say that, well, okay. Frankenstein, doctor, and not the monster. So the doctor, Frankenstein, is scary because he's doing some fucked up scientist shit, and I don't really stand for fucking up with human life. So I'm gonna say that Frankenstein is worse.
This is a good question. Like Dara said, I kind of fuck with both of them. I feel like I could reason with Dracula. You know what I mean? I feel like, and if we're talking about in the context of this, like the Frankenstein's monster, I couldn't reason with Frankenstein's monster. So I'm going to say Frankenstein is scarier.
Okay, I think Dracula is scarier. So that was it.
Thanks, Jen. You're always a joy to have on the pod. I also know exactly, but I want to hear yours first, so go.
So, I'm curious to know what you ate and drank with this movie.
Okay.
Because I went balls to the walls, but I want to hear what you did first.
In my reality, I don't think we really did much. I think I really just chugged like a whole bottle of white wine by myself. Henry watched this movie with me and made some quite intelligent comments that I've pawned off as my own here on this day. But I don't think I did anything, but I do think I have struck a line of genius with my idea for what to eat and drink if you're hosting a Silence of the Lambs party. And here's my pitch, right? So
enlighten me.
The most basic, so like the broke, if we're doing broke versus woke, the broke option is to just do the shit that they mention in the movie, which is like you eat liver and fava beans and Chianti, which sounds nasty and not what I want. And if you're gonna do like a little spin-off on that, make it edible, whatever, like you do you, that's fine. It's on brand. I get it. Also, like one step to the right of that is eating lamb. Lamb
yes.
in the movie, what a presence, what a fucking thing that they mention all the time. Like, I get it. If you're gonna do the lamb thing, do it. But here's my off from left field.
If you're gonna do lamb, I feel like make a good shepherd's pie. You know what I'm saying?
Pie could be good for this movie. Because, okay, so my whole suggestion is grounded in the fact that this is a psychological thriller movie. It's kind of disturbing. Are you drinking red wine now? But so I do think so. My food pairing is really grounded in the fact that I think that this is like kind of, I'm not gonna say it's a hard movie to watch, but it certainly is very like it's tough. You know, it's a horror movie. There's visual gory shit that happens. It's not for the faint of heart. And so I think you should eat something very comforting, something kind of nice. And what is nice but buffalo wings? Buffalo Bill, buffalo wings. But then so my preference, so if we're doing buffalo chicken, right? Buffalo Bill, buffalo chicken, but buffalo chicken mac and cheese. That is my preferred vehicle for buffalo chicken. So you do a buffalo chicken mac and cheese. Also, you could do like buffalo dip, buffalo wings, whatever you like. But I'm going for like a mac and cheese moment, right? And then
love this.
For drinks, where does this movie end? But on a beautiful note with Hannibal and his Jimmy Buffett dégagé giving a nice phone call to Clarice. And where is he? The Bahamas. What does the Bahamas give you? Bahama Mama tiki drink. You do a nice rum-based tiki drink to commemorate Hannibal's success at the end of the film. You do buffalo mac and cheese and a nice solid tiki drink like a Mai Tai. That's my pitch for this movie.
I don't even want to follow this. I can't follow this.
I'm gonna say though that from the minute this movie ended until right now, all I thought about was that question.
I didn't give this nearly enough thought. I think you're entirely right. I don't even think I have anything to follow this up with, honestly. A Mai Tai too.
A Mai Tai and buffalo mac and cheese. I think it's great.
This is a movie that you have to be like a little tipsy for, if you ask me too. And a Mai Tai is like 3 different kinds of rum. So I think that is spot on. I think with some buffalo mac and cheese as well. I think you've outdone yourself.
Thank you. I think this is my best one yet. I scouted some Pinterest shit because I'm like, what are these Pinterest bitches eating? And it was all like fava bean puree with a Chianti reduction. And I was like, here's the thing, is I get it and I commend your effort, but that just isn't me. You know, it just couldn't be me. I just think you gotta take a step further. You gotta look at the big picture. You gotta say, what is my truth? And my truth is that I want some fucking mac and cheese while I watch this disgusting movie.
That's fair.
So how do I make it work?
That's fair. I took the lead of the show Hannibal more than the movie, just because I know they've got some really crazy montages of Mads Mikkelsen just cooking. Mind you, he's cooking people.
But it's beautiful. It's like beautiful, like Bon Appetit, chef level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Super well done. So I was feeling fancy. I was on vacation for the last week, so I didn't really cook for myself for like a week plus, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make something nice, and I've got a garden, and I was like, okay, I've got a ton of rosemary. I'm gonna make some rosemary chicken. So I made rosemary chicken and some like crispy smashed potatoes, balsamic garlic, like asparagus, and it was great. It was lovely.
My mouth is watering. That sounds stunning. I'll
have to send you a picture. I did take a picture. I felt like a really
nice
fancy
homey,
lady.
a nice homey fancy meal with this movie also totally fits the vibe. Definitely the like classy sort of. Yeah, I completely agree. Also, a smashed potato. That's the way to my fucking heart.
I've never made them before, and this was outstanding.
Oh, that was my pandemic serve to my family, is basically every time they'd be like, oh, Dara, do you want to like cook the side tonight? Like, you know, my dad would make steak or whatever, and I'd be like, oh, hell yeah. And I would go so hard on a smashed potato, and I would fucking turn up and outshine every other dish at the table, because I was like, garlic, olive oil, and butter, 9 different kinds of salt. Yeah, rosemary, thyme,
so good.
chives, so good. And you just let that shit sit at 400 in the oven for like a fucking hour, nice and crisp.
It was perfect.
Hell yeah.
So easy. Yeah, this one was good too, because it was a lot of like, just pop it in the oven. Just pop it in the oven. It's fine. I think if you want to go for like the homey thing, do something like that. Do something kind of easy. Or like I said, the thing that screams homey to me is a good shepherd's pie. Especially if you're going with the lamb theme, I'd say
I like that.
Whip up a good shepherd's pie.
Yeah, or like a hand pie. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like a sort of hand pie moment. That could be really good. But yeah, that was my take. Honestly, I felt like Fuck, Marry, Kill is kind of hard for this one, because
there's no one I want to... I mean, like, I'll marry Clarice, of course.
But so, like, honestly, when you think about the 3 characters that get, like, the most screen time, I'm gonna argue that it's maybe Clarice, Hannibal, and Buffalo Bill, right? And, like, there's no fucking way I'm deciding between those 3.
No.
So I figure we can just pick from the whole movie, from the whole cast, because I think that gives us enough good eggs to work with.
I'm gonna marry Clarice. That's just plain and simple. Why would I not? There's no other option, really. And then I'm gonna fuck Clarice's friend. You know, the one that she was like... Oh my god.
The token black friend from every 90s piece of media. They were like, oh, you know what will make this movie good and diverse? If her friend is black. You know what have fucking made this movie way more interesting? If she was the main character. A black FBI agent in 1991. Give me that story.
Please,
like, I totally... Every time she was on screen, I was like, girl, what's your story? What's up?
Who is she?
Yeah, who are you? I was like, fuck Clarice. Like, I would die for Clarice, but, like, also, I would double die for Clarice's friend.
She seemed like, don't get me wrong, Clarice is great, but Clarice is a little dull for me. You know what I mean? I feel like this bitch, like, definitely has, I don't know, a little more to offer. She seems just as smart as her. Like, if she had been
Obviously, they're graduating from the same program.
If she had been given the assignment that Clarice had, I'm sure she would have been just as good.
Maybe,
and you know what? I'm sure she wouldn't have gone grunting around doorways.
Oh my god, right? And maybe the swastika elements would have been a bit more prevalent, if you ask me.
Yeah, really.
If a black woman showed up to his house, he probably would not have been so keen to let her answer the phone.
Yeah. But I would, marry Clarice, fuck her smarter friend, and then kill Buffalo Bill. Like, it's one of those, like, I can't say I would even, like, obviously you're gonna kill Buffalo Bill, like, there's all Hannibal there, but you know what? I gotta give him a little respect. He's pretty smart.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I really love Barney, the guy who works at I don't know if it's like a prison or like
the holding center for
the holding center.
Yeah, I was
Barney,
worried
the guy at the holding center who basically Clarice has just been like the psychologist guy has been such a fucking dick to her all the way, and Barney's like,
he was so sweet.
You got this. He's like, you got this. Don't worry, Hannibal's not that bad. I'm gonna be watching from the monitor. Like, I got you. Like, I'll come in if anything happens. Like, you have nothing to worry about. And he was just really sweet and supportive through the whole time, and I really liked that. He was a really good character, so I'm gonna marry him, because honestly, I would marry Clarice, but her lifestyle seems very intense. And my mental health is not good enough to support someone who has that intense of a job. If she comes home and it's like, babe, I'm really worried that this murderer is getting into my inner psyche, I'd be like, well, shit. That sounds like it's tough, you know? I don't know what to say to that, but me and Barney, the prison guard, I think we would get on quite swimmingly, so...
I was very worried about Barney initially. I thought, like, for sure, I was like, oh god, he's gonna die. He's gotta die. He's too nice.
He's too good, right? He's too
good.
I will say my other runners up though are for sure like the bug guys. I liked them a lot too. I would kill. Okay, so it's tough because in the context of the movie, like Buffalo Bill dies, so I don't have to kill him. Hannibal, I think he just, I know he's gonna kill people and he's gonna eat people, but like he's just gonna do his business. The psychologist holding center guy who's a total dick, he also is about to get eaten, so I don't have to kill him. So it's like, who do I have to kill? I would probably just still make sure that the psychologist guy gets real dead. Because he was my pick when I took my notes. I was like, he's the worst. I was like, he's worse than any murderer because he disrespects women. So.
Yeah. You don't think Buffalo Bill is disrespecting women?
Well, yeah, but like he gets his comeuppance, you know?
Yeah, you're not wrong there. All right, let's get into it. So I know exactly what movie I would follow this up with. I say you kind of stay in the same vein of a thriller, especially like a really well done thriller. And I'm going to go with, also like about serial killers and everything like that, I'm going to go with Zodiac.
Amazing choice. That's also, I love that. So this one has those little tidbits that you can connect to reality and kind of do your research, which totally enhanced my viewing experience, like learning about kind of what they based it on. And Zodiac is so cool in the way that it's just totally based in a real thing that happened in history. And like reading about the Zodiac killer and the real shit that happened, it's totally fucking cool and awesome. Well, not awesome that people are dead, but awesome if you're like into true crime type beat. So yeah, I think Zodiac is an amazing movie. It's totally one of my favorite Finchers. I think it's kind of underrated in that way that people say it's kind of slow or like, you know, not gratifying in that way that a lot of Fincher movies are, because it's based on a real thing that hasn't been solved, you know? So you can't expect a gratifying movie.
Exactly.
And I watched it in a Tesla while drinking a Four Loko. So like what better of an experience can you have? So
that's the way to do it.
I totally agree. Zodiac would be a great movie to follow this up with. I think that you kind of, so like my immediate gut reaction was, oh, you did The Shining, right? Because like same sort of playing field, right? You got that like iconic thriller horror done so well type beat. But then I was like, no, you don't want two of those back to back, too much. So then my brain was like, where do you go? And then I say, you pick something stupid and niche and you go from that. So the scene where Hannibal Lecter cuts off a man's face and wears it as his own face in an ambulance to pass off as part of his escape. What does that reference remind me, connect to? The iconic movie Face Off, starring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. You do Face Off, you follow this, and I think, and it's based on the skin graft transfer in this film. That is what I would follow it up with. It's campy, it's fun, it's stupid, it's easy to watch, and I think that's exactly what I need after this movie.
You always go for the good leap, and I am never disappointed.
I love a leap because you know, if you step too closely, you end up just watching two movies that feel too similar, you know. And that's never what you want, because two movies back to back is at least 4 hours of your time usually, you know, so you gotta really invest in it.
Yeah, Zodiac and this would be like 5.5 hours.
Yeah, Zodiac's crazy long. All David Fincher movies are pretty long. I saw a really good TikTok pretty recently that said that that Gone Girl should have been claymation, and I loved that. Like, imagine if Silence of the Lambs was claymation. I think both Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins have like iconic enough facial structures that they could totally be sculpted from clay.
Easily. I love that. But so, like, someone needs to make that happen.
1 to 10, what do you rate this movie?
I'm giving it, and people might think this is low, I'm gonna sit it at a 7.5.
Okay.
It's good. I enjoyed it. I think that it was a bit ruined for me by my prior knowledge of the events of the movie and everything like that. I would certainly like to watch it again with a critical eye, because for this watch it was mostly just like the experience of seeing it. But I'd love to go back and revisit it in like a couple of months.
I'm totally going to give this movie like a 9 out of 10. I love it. I think I watch it at least once a year. I regard it as one of the best done, most iconic films of all time. Never gets old. Every time I watch it, I don't feel tired of it. The only reason I don't give it 10 is like I wouldn't necessarily place it in like my absolute favorite films of all time category, which is what I really reserve that 10 score for. But I really think that this movie is amazing, and I'll totally give it a 9. I think it deserves all of the hype that it gets, and I think everyone who's even a little bit interested in like the horror thriller genre or true crime or anything should watch this movie, because I think it's beautifully done.
Oh, for sure.
So if you guys want to DM us what zodiac sign you think Clarice, or honestly anyone else in this movie, or any iconic movie character you think really gives you certain vibes, I would love to hear it. I think those will all be so funny. But yeah, for this one, Clarice, or like I said, anything you want to send us, we'll totally enter. Any DMs we get regarding this will get entered into our monthly giveaway. We love all of you. We appreciate your listenership. You are amazing. Like, we cannot believe that so many of you have been so kind and loving with your comments. We've gotten nothing but positivity, so y'all are awesome. And we are going to try to incorporate as many listener requested movies as we can in the future. So anything you ever think of that you want to hear us talk about, totally slide into our DMs. We keep track of all of them. We write them all down, and we love to hear what y'all, want us to hear us talk about. So thank you so much. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Swamp Pod, on TikTok at The Swamp Podcast, also our website, theswamppodcast.com. You could send us an email. So business professional. We begged for so long to get emails, and so many people rolled up in our emails being like, shut the fuck up about wanting no, they didn't. They weren't like that.
They're like, so I hear you wanted emails since you begged so much for it.
Yeah, they're like, all y'all do is beg for emails, so here it is. And honestly, I was like, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Like, yeah, thank you for servicing my request. I love it. But so if you want to send us an email, our Gmail is theswamppod@gmail.com. We love a good email. Honestly, all of your comments make our day, totally. And you guys are wonderful. Keep sending us movie requests, and thank you so much. We love you. I don't know another Silence of the Lambs.
Go watch Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, if you haven't, oh my god, if you've made it this far and you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie!